This episode originally aired on July 15th, 2022 on the Unethical Patreon. Our client today is comedian Sumit Swami.
I never know what to expect, so I didn't want to just like I wouldn't mean to second guess you. Richard's just thrown us some duds before, is all I'm saying.
So Richard, my man. Hello?
Hey.
Is this private detectives?
Yes, this is Private Dicks.
I have a case and I want you guys to help me with the case, please.
Absolutely. That's what we do here, right? We still do that, Richard?
As far as I know, I fucking love crushing these goddamn mysteries. So I've been a little bored over here.
Yeah, we can do that then. What mystery you got for us?
I have lots of mysteries that I want to get resolved, but I have this specific one. Her name is Diane Schuler. And yeah. And you know what I heard? That she drove on the wrong side of the highway for at least 8 miles or something. And she killed 8 people.
That's right. I believe it was 2 miles.
Oh, 2 miles. Sorry.
No,
I'm
that's
sorry.
okay. Hey, look, man, you're coming to us with a mystery. That means you don't have all the facts. So that tracks.
Yeah.
That's how we know you're legit.
It doesn't even sound like a mystery. It sounds like she drove on the wrong side of the highway and drove into a bunch of people.
It does, doesn't it? Isn't it? Doesn't it seem like that's all there is to it? But I'll tell you what, I've been doing what you do, Richard, and I've just been solving every single case ever in my free time.
Oh.
Or at least just researching them. So this happens to be one of 10,000 that I did since last Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah, because my cousin Gag and Deep talked about it, and I was like, I want to call Private Dicks to get it solved.
Really? You heard of us? Well, okay.
Yeah, Suck Deep, one of my other cousins, also got a case solved for you guys. You were really, really good. He's missing now, but I don't know what happened to him, but I know you guys solved the case for him.
Okay, cool. That's interesting that you're here with a true crime case and not asking us about what happened to your cousin that we at some point definitely knew.
Well, I had 2 mysteries, to be very honest. I was like either Diane Schuler or my cousin, and I'm like, well, he took $200 2 years ago, never returned me back. I asked him, and he just kept on delaying it. So I'm like, whatever, screw him. I'm gonna have Diane Schuler done first, and then the cousin.
We call that white privilege in the U.S.
That makes sense to me. That's just a sound financial decision. By the way, Richard, didn't we charge that guy $200?
$200.
All right, we're just not gonna bring that up.
Sacrifice.
Thank you, guys. Who took that? He took that $200 from me.
That's crazy, dude. Because we never got paid by him. It was super weird. Yeah, he just
freaking Suck Deep, man. Suck Deep is just a trouble.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Hate that guy. Maybe we don't need to find him.
No, don't even look downstairs.
I tell you what, if you pay us extra, we won't find him.
Amazing.
We'll leave him where he is. We'll leave him right where he is.
Perfect.
Perfecto. Let's do that.
Awesome. And then first, we will get into the strange mystery that seems like it's not a mystery of Diane Schuler.
An elite team of private detectives.
What if balloons are aliens? Maybe that's the key component we're missing.
Cover-ups.
John's guilty.
Mysteries that need to be solved.
Maybe Mormons need mountains.
Richard, shut up.
Little background here on this, guys. This was in the news for quite some time. In 2009, on the Taconic State Parkway, Sunday, July 26th, at 1:30 p.m., a 2003 Ford Windstar minivan traveled into oncoming traffic for almost 2 miles in Westchester County, eventually colliding head-on with a 2004 Chevy Trailblazer SUV. 81-year-old Michael Bastardi, his 49-year-old son Guy, and their friend, 74-year-old Dan Longo, were all occupants of the SUV, and all 3 of them were killed in.
I'm sorry, I was laughing, but the guy's name is Bastardi.
Bastardi, yeah, yep. His name was Bastardi. It was Michael Bastardi and his son Guy Bastardi.
Are you sure it's not Guy Bastardi?
No, it is. I think that would have been spelled differently, but I will double check for you. But I also find it funny that, because Michael Bastardi's 81 and his son Guy is 49, and it's their friend, 74-year-old Dan Longo. Like, I know,
Yeah.
like, when you get older, like, age differences stop mattering that much, but I can't imagine at any point being, like, pre-60 and friends with a 74-year-old man.
Yeah.
That just
Unless
seems weird.
but you're probably that weird kid. You know what I mean? You probably just hang out with your
Right.
dad.
Yeah,
And
I'm
then
friends
you're-
with my dad's friends.
Yeah, exactly. And your dad's like, come on, let's go. Come with us, little bastard. Little bastard bastardy. I hate you.
Little buddy, he's 49.
Yeah.
Calls him little guy.
I'll buy you lunch.
My dad is actually not my dad, my stepdad, because he was my actual biological father's friend. But my mom left my father, and he's now with my friend, and we are friends together too. So hey,
Such a weird. You're right though. That is a weird relationship. I can't even like.
Right.
I'm 38. Like a 58-year-old. I don't know if I hang out with any 50, like 20-year-old or just at work. I guess. Like I'm kind of
Yeah,
forced
well,
to.
it would be like 25 years older than you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a couple. There's a couple.
Be like a
dudes that are older like that.
63-year-old man.
But they're
Yeah.
authority figures. They're not like my friends at work. You know what I mean? Like this
Yeah.
is 65, 70-year-olds. That's those are the bosses.
Oh my God. I had one of my dear friends on this podcast who was like 30 years my senior. I sound like a fucking idiot right now. Whew.
It's unusual for sure.
It is. Yeah.
It's not unheard of, you know.
Right.
Judge Judy seems to be friend with her bailiff.
Wait, what's the age difference there?
It's got to be more than 30 years.
No way.
yeah.
I'm looking them up.
I don't even know what would be the conversation starter. Would we be like, hey, what is your favorite meds? I mean, diabetes, or would you like the best? You know? I like low blood pressure.
I feel like we've started a different mystery now. I've barely introduced this one.
Sorry.
We'll circle back to the friends age gap later.
Oh, I hope there's a fucking Judge Judy mystery out there.
Anyways, these three people were dead. And in the van driven by Diane Schuler were Diane Schuler, 36 years old, her 5-year-old son, 2-year-old daughter, and her 3 nieces, ages 5, 7, and 8. The only survivor of the entire crash was Diane's 5-year-old son, Brian.
Yikes.
The two Bastardes, their much too old friend, all of the children and Diane except for her son.
Wow. Okay, sorry, one second before you go.
Yeah.
You said it was younger kids? Like younger, the one kid that survived wasn't the youngest one.
No, he wasn't the youngest because Diane had a 2-year-old daughter, Erin.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I was just thinking maybe it was something to do with a car seat or something, but I guess not. He's 5.
We'll get it. This one's weird.
Okay.
It seems weird and then it doesn't, but then it does again. It's one of those fucking things.
Okay.
So here's where it seems even more obvious. A toxicology report on Diane showed that she had high levels of THC in her system, as well as a blood alcohol content of 0.19.
That's evening itself out.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the math on that actually? Now that you say that.
The legal limit in New York is 0.8. So she was nearly fucking 3 times the legal limit.
Wait, did you say how much marijuana she had in her system or on her?
In her system. They said, and I don't know, I've never found a correct measurement on it or anything like that. They just say high levels of THC, which by itself is debatable on whether or not you can drive.
You know what? They replaced like knots with miles and shit. They should just replace like when you're talking about being high, like Snoop Dogg high or like Willie Nelson high.
Or like with knots. That'd be fucking awesome. If you could measure how high you were in knots.
Fuck that. I hate knots so much.
You'll never get high again just out of spite.
How many knots you can tie when you're high? Like I can only do 3.
Goddamn.
I just noticed something too. Like in one car, there are people who are like way too old, and in the other car, people they're way too young.
It's like fate's
Oh, how high
colliding.
were the kids?
How young are the kids?
No, how high were they?
Oh, they didn't have it was less than 1 knot each, which doesn't
Yeah.
rate. So yeah, that's a technical error if you ask me. So the crash was the deadliest in Westchester County, which I mean I know I'm sure Rick knows, but Westchester County is like just above New York City. It's just kind of like in the upstate area. Even though me up here in upstate, we refer to it as downstate still. It's like the wealthy county-sized suburb of New York City. The deadliest in Westchester County since a bus crash claimed 20 lives in 1934, which raises the question, how did they make buses fast enough in 1934 to kill 20 people? I honestly didn't even look it up because I didn't want to ruin the mystery. I really like this image of just like people crossing the road and then just like a bus just rolling over one by one.
And they're just standing in the line.
Yeah. And they're like, fuck!
Robert, it's coming to you now.
The 30s actually is when the cars started getting fast because of
Really?
rum running. So they used to they used to soup up all these old cars and give them like fucking V8s in little car. That's where like F1 racing started in like the 30s is because of rum running, because they figured out how to soup up their cars and shit. So
maybe it just killed 20 people then because it wasn't really the crash, but somebody lit a cigarette and there was just like 80 containers of open moonshine.
Yeah, that could be it too.
and it just fucking exploded.
It was a moonshine party bus.
Yeah. So this one's like, what is even the mystery here? It just sounds like a sad fucking tragedy that destroyed the lives of multiple families, and really just something terrible to empathize with the people who were hurt by it. You know, one woman made terrible choices and innocent lives paid the price. Except that wasn't it. There was a media shockwave when Daniel Schuler, Diane's husband, got on TV with his lawyer and made a public press conference explicitly stating, there's no way my wife could have done this. She was never a drinker. This is not like her. And to this day, he fucking adamantly stands by it.
Yeah, okay. You still got the 5-year-old alive, right?
Yeah, his son is still alive, yeah.
Yeah, so you don't want to go on the news and be like, yeah, she was a fucking drunk. Like, I'm sorry,
but
she did this on purpose. She hated all of them.
Is there any sort of insurance money involved?
We can get into that, but
He is shady motherfucker. I already know the answer. He's shady.
It's surprisingly disappointing. What's interesting is Daniel's not the only one. It's most everybody in Diane's life was completely and utterly shocked like this. Coworkers, other moms of kids that went to her school, Diane's extended family, like no one was even aware of the fact that Diane ever drank a drop of alcohol ever.
Maybe she didn't. Maybe she wasn't a drinker. That's the perfect reason. You drink enough, you don't know how to fucking handle your liquor, and you go out and drive on the wrong side of the road. We've all been there, right?
Totally plausible.
Yeah.
Totally plausible. And I think that will seem more and more like the case as we dive in here and sort of break down who Diane was.
Yeah, I mean, we solved that one quick. That's like
time.
That's like $800
I
an
promise
hour.
it's weird. I promise it's weird. The overall theme that comes up whenever anybody talks about Diane is literal perfection. Like perfect mom, perfect employee, perfect wife. She worked a fucking full-time job as like a billing manager at some fucking cable company, but she made over $100,000 a year, making her like the main breadwinner of the family, because fucking Daniel Schuler was an overnight security guard. And they were well off. I mean, they lived in Long Island, and that's not like a super cheap place to live.
Okay. Enough to make you want to drink. Keep going.
It could be.
Show me when the kids get added to the pile. That never makes me want to drink either. I mean, him or her.
I worked for a cable company before. It definitely drives you to drink. That fucking sucks.
But why is she drinking so bad when there are so many kids around her? They're like, okay, kids are here now. It's safe to drink. That's what happened. I don't know.
I mean, that's the best time to drink.
By all accounts, Diane didn't drink. Like, that's the thing. I mean, from what everyone in her life says.
Oh, the kids were a bad influence.
That, yes, it was the children. and that's what we always learn in these stories is you always blame the kids.
Victim children is what you meant by that last part.
Oh, yeah.
It was the 5-year-old because he knew when to tuck because he knew it was going to happen.
He's actually severely fucked up. He was ejected from the vehicle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's okay. He has what's called ocular palsy, so his eyes don't fucking move right. But yeah,
That's not fun.
Sorry, when someone's dead, like when you got like 9 people stuffed in a fucking car, what's the procedure to find out like if somebody's drunk? Like, is there a chance that they just like grabbed random fucking blood and they're like, oh, there's alcohol?
Yeah, but they're all kids. It's not like
during Diane's autopsy, which they performed. They did vitreous fluid, which came up. I don't know if you remember when we were doing Princess Di. They tested the drivers vitreous fluid. I don't know why that's the best way to test alcohol levels, but they just fucking test your eye fluid. And yeah.
I wonder how accurate that is. I know we've talked about like how inaccurate almost everything else we've ever looked at was, but now I'm just curious. Like,
as you find out, Daniel Schuler has a few things to say about that.
Can I get my eye fluid tested before I'm dead, or is that kind of like a one-way procedure? It's like fluid out, no fluid in.
All right. Well, I mean, in the interest of just sharing my own thoughts on this, because I have terrible phobias surrounding my eyes. I have eye floaters, and you know, I mean, like I can see past them now. It's not like a big deal, but they drove me nuts for a while. Turns out there's something called a vitrectomy, which is the only way to actually cure them, and that's because the floaters are just like balls, like little like strands of protein just floating around in your eye fluid. So the way they do it is they put a fucking needle in your eye and they suck the fluid out of your eye and then replace it with saline.
Nice.
Oh, I don't like the replacing it with saline part. Oh, I was good until you said that.
The interesting part is it'll either cure you completely of them, or it'll permanently fuck up your eyesight for the rest of your life.
Or if someone fucked up the saline and they got to do it again.
Yeah, they can't do it again. If it gets fucked up, you're just fucked. They just fucking suck that shit out.
That is amazing.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that horrifying?
That is horrifying.
I said amazing. Okay.
Well, I mean, amazing can be horrifying.
I would just say drive on the right side of the road, then no eye sucking, nothing happens. You know what I mean?
That's a very fair point.
I mean, have drinks, that's fine. Have like 25 kids, but drive on the right side of the road.
Everyone at Diane's job loved her. They said that she was like the fucking man. Like, she was the one who planned all the birthday parties and was always like checking in with anybody, had like a weird intuition to just know if somebody was having a rough time, and was like, boom, the one who was there to try to like help out and make everything better. The other moms, the kids that went to the same school as Diane's kids, were like, to the point like they were jealous of her. She was so perfect. She was doing all the fucking PTA shit. Literally every day, her kids were the ones who showed up like perfectly groomed, never missed a haircut, had all new clothes, and looked like they just were covered in Teflon type shit. They just were, you know, I mean, she was like that perfect mom. Danny's mother, her mother and Diane's mother-in-law, also thought Diane was perfect, like, which, you know, I mean, it's stereotypical to think that mother-in-laws hate, you know, significant others or whatever.
I mean, you definitely can't talk shit on your daughter-in-law after she's dead.
No, also definitely probably not in an HBO documentary. You probably wouldn't. So, well, Diane's mother-in-law talked about how she was sort of the one in charge of the house. You know, she wore the pants in that aspect. And she kept referring to Danny, her son, as Diane, his wife's oldest child. She just kept saying, "Oh, Danny was her oldest boy. Danny's her oldest boy." Meaning she basically took care of her husband. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She did a lot.
Yeah.
She was also like into like crafting and shit. So like she would do like this weird shit where she made like homemade cards for people for like any kind of like special occasion or their birthdays. So she didn't give them like a gift card off the shelf. She made a fucking card. And the through line that Diane's mother-in-law says is, she's like, I have literally no idea where she found the time for any of them.
This just keeps sounding like CEO soccer mom breaks bad.
Diane's high school friends were in the documentary I watched. It's called There's Something Wrong with Aunt Diane. And I do recommend it.
I fucking love that title.
Yeah. And they interviewed, you know, I mean, it's interviews the whole thing. They just kind of follow everything along in the aftermath of what happened. And they interviewed some of Diane's old friends from like college and high school. As they're talking to her, they talk about how Diane was kind of like the quiet, sort of demure one of them. She had issues with her self-esteem that they attributed to like her weight and her self-image, and that she never really dated or spent any time with anybody like romantically until she met Danny, her future husband. And it seemed like when they met, that's just like where all of Diane's focus and attention was into Danny and her relationship with him, to the point that her friends sort of dropped the bomb at the end of their little interview that they didn't speak to her for 10 years and they never would again because she fucking died. They didn't go to each other's weddings or any of that stuff. And these are like her close college and high school friends. So it's just very interesting how she just like, she very much threw herself into what she decided her next life would be.
Yeah. I don't know. I find that's less rare than you'd think. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, people drift apart.
Yeah. And it's not like I've done it to a lot of people, and it's not like I don't want to hang out with these. It's not in the same trajectory. It's just not there. It's not, what I mean?
Dude. Yeah. Sometimes shit just happens. Going back even further in Diane's life, her childhood fucking sucked. Whose doesn't? But her mother, Eileen, abandoned her and the entire family when Diane was 9. Now, Diane was the oldest and the only girl, and this is kind of something that is not uncommon in those situations. Diane became the surrogate wife and mother to her father and 3 younger brothers, meaning that she took care of everything that the mom and wife would. And that was with, full sort of backing by her father, if not insistence, which is, it's sad and shitty. And Diane's husband, Danny, insists that Diane never wanted to talk about it. She never wanted to talk about her mother. Anytime her mother came up, she'd say, "That's all done. I don't think about that." And that she'd written her off and would never speak with her. And Danny said he stopped asking. Kind of gives you some insight into a woman who might get so drunk and fucked up that she would drive on the wrong side of the road. But another thing to keep in mind, nothing like this had ever happened in Diane's life before. She had never been in trouble for drinking. She didn't have stories about her that her friends told about getting so fucked up at bars. She didn't have anybody in her family who was like, yeah, well, Diane can put it away. Nobody that anybody talked to, and you'll find it was a lot of people, including their lawyer, private investigator they hired, the actual fucking police, interviewed anybody that knew Diane, and they all got the same story. Basically, that line of perfection that I've been telling you about, that Diane was this, beacon and not at all the type of person.
This sounds like the Walter White documentary.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if that's your takeaway, I mean, it's very, very strange.
Well, I mean, if you're saying that this is the Walter White documentary, I don't believe for a second that Walter White would get into a car drunk and drive on the wrong side of the road. That was definitely a hit job.
Yeah, exactly. Gus Fring fucking took her out, solved it.
Sort of dip into the day of the incident. The way it starts is 9:30 a.m. on Sunday, July 26, 2009. The Schuler family was camping out in Parksville, New York. They would oftentimes hook up a camper to the back of their pickup and drive it out there and hang out in their little area that they rented and, play in the water, go to the beach and all that. And this time they had brought Diane's brother's 3 daughters, the 5, 7, and 8-year-old girls, and they spent a weekend out there. Now, on Sunday, it was time to go at 9:30 sharp. Danny left in the pickup truck towing the camper with the family dog, and Diane got into the Ford Windstar, which is actually owned by her brother, the father of the girls, and they said goodbye to the campground owner, who I saw on that documentary verbally attest, Diane looked stone sober. She was normal Diane. The next time Diane is seen is only about like 20 minutes later in Liberty, New York, which is only like 20 minutes from the campground. And there's surveillance footage of them pulling into a McDonald's, and Diane goes in there and she orders food for the kids.
What does she get?
Nuggies, motherfucker.
I'm not sure exactly what they got, but it was McDonald's breakfast. I know that
it was breakfast.
Yeah.
Even
What year did this happen?
2009.
And what time did she get there?
9:38. Well, probably like 10 a.m.
It might not have been breakfast. It might not have been breakfast.
Cutting it close, but not past breakfast.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that sounds like that would drive me to drink. If I had that many children in the car and I missed breakfast,
What do you mean you don't have any fucking Egg McMuffins?
How quickly did this story get buried that a mother went to McDonald's, immediately got onto the highway and crashed her fucking car because her kids were probably screaming at her?
Yeah, it was a cover-up by Ronald McDonald. Diane actually had what has been called a lengthy chat, according to the private investigator that spoke with the employees at this McDonald's. She had a lengthy chat and was very friendly while she was waiting at the counter for the food. Again, by all accounts, stone cold sober. And the kids played in the play place for a while. And then there's surveillance footage of the car pulling into a Sunoco gas station, and then inside surveillance footage of Diane walking in, looking through the aisles real quick, and then saying something to the clerk, and then walking back out. Now, nobody's been able to talk to this clerk because they just never found out who was working that day.
How is that a mystery? There's a schedule.
Right, I know. I have no idea. I mean, could have just been like a fucking just real podunk place that wasn't run well like that then, maybe. I don't know, maybe they just paid everybody in cash. Who knows? They weren't able to track him down because they couldn't see him, I guess. But and by they, I mean her husband and the private investigator he hired, who I keep mentioning and I will explain later. They think that maybe she was asking for pain pills, which does fit when you look at the surveillance footage. She's kind of got that do you have any no? And then she walks out. But there's no audio, nothing like that.
It could be anything. Do you have any brake fluid? No.
Brake fluid. Do you have a place I can dump my brake fluid? Yeah, but she looks fucking sober, dude. That's the thing. They're back on the road by 11 a.m. And they're going along Route 17, I-86, which right up there, it's just two. It's one highway that kind of goes in and out into two, and then it does intersect with I-87, which is the New York State Thruway. Now, what they're supposed to be doing is they get on there and then they go south down that thruway so they can get into New York City and then through into Long Island, which is where they're heading, home.
Yeah.
So the car is spotted crossing Tappan Zee Bridge, which is going into the city over there. Several witnesses reported seeing a red van driving aggressively, including tailgating, flashing headlights, honking the horn, moving in and out of lanes, and straddling two lanes.
Okay, so wait. Oh, let's just for a second so I can understand this better.
No, we can pause.
So she left the gas station, got on the freeway. Between the gas station, which was about 10 o'clock, you said? Something like that?
11.
11, sorry. And then the freeway, which is how much more time? She gets fucked up in that. Minutes. So 35 minutes is where how she's losing her.
Cool.
That's where the gap happens, the snap. I need lots of liquor and weed.
And anger.
Okay, so it's in between that. Okay, you think it might be before that even. Okay, sorry. I'm just because she seemed normal before. That's where I'm.
I don't know what to make of it because as an individual who's done binge drinking at points, this is the part that surprises me. She calls her brother at 11:37 a.m. and tells him they're being delayed by traffic. Almost at the same time, according to a police report, Diane is seen at 11:45 a.m. on the side of the road with her hands on her knees as if she's vomiting. They think she was throwing up. 11 a.m., leaving the Sunoco looking stone sober after having no time to have been drinking prior to that in the McDonald's where everyone thinks she's stone sober. Going back even further, stone sober.
Wait, she walked into the McDonald's? She didn't even go through the drive-thru?
No, she was in there. She was standing in there. Kids are playing in the fucking play place. She was just hanging out. That's why it took him so fucking long.
I would have been miserable too. That early in the morning?
Right. Right. But 45 minutes it's enough time, I think, to start getting real fucked up. But I don't know about bending over, throwing up, having to stop on the side of the road just after calling your brother and saying that traffic was heavy or whatever.
Well, you had McDonald's, so you're going to throw up.
That is probably it.
You're going to throw up.
This really is a fucking cover-up.
Well, how big of a vehicle do they have? They have 5 kids in there.
It's like a caravan. Yeah, it's not that big.
Any space for someone to jump in the back and hold her up. You start driving, bitch, or your kids die.
Potentially, but As you'll know, I mean, it's a really high traffic area. There's pretty much witnesses kind of all along the way.
Was 2009, they had cell phones, right, at that time? So she had a cell phone.
She
Maybe
called her
she
brother.
got a bad news or something. I don't know.
That's
Yeah,
that's not a bad thought.
Because she lost it out of nowhere, so it has to be so bad that it's kind of shaking her whole concept of life, whatever she's doing. You know? She got crazy. She's like, "Shut up, kids! Fuck McDonald's," and she got really mad. You know.
But they said she was so nice and so friendly, and that's the thing.
This is gonna sound dark, and I'm sorry I'm doing it. What if one of the kids got so mad that they didn't get whatever McDonald's they wanted, killed another child in the back, and to avoid the child having to live through life like that, she sacrifices the entire family?
Damn, that's actually probably the most likely scenario. To be honest with you.
You know what? I knew that there will be somebody somewhere getting killed because of that McDonald's Happy Meal toy because they didn't get the right one. They got a princess, but however the person was, a man is like, I want a man toy, and they're like, we don't have any. Here we go.
So did they eat at the McDonald's, or did she take the food with them?
They had to have eaten there.
Okay, I was going to say this timeline does not make sense if they didn't eat there.
Sure, man. That's probably on me for not explaining it very well. But 9:30 a.m. they leave the campground. Like literally 15 minutes later, they're in Liberty, New York, and she's hitting up the McDonald's and the gas station, and then they're leaving Liberty at like 11 o'clock. So you're talking about an hour and a half there between when they left there, and Liberty's only like 15-20 minutes from the campground. So, you know, you got 5 kids in the fucking car. It's going to take you a while, especially if you're hanging out and letting them play on that greasy fucking play palace, whatever. You know, I mean, it seems like the appropriate amount of time.
It's perfect amount of time.
Back on the highway.
Ba-da-ba-ba.
I'm loving it.
Again, at 11:45 a.m., that's when they saw her
Puking.
doing what she looked like, puking. And then she was seen again doing that a short time later, just at a rest stop. There were people that parked at the rest stop, and it was people who had seen her driving like an asshole. But not, they said, when they described the way that she was driving, it wasn't drunk. It was just like a dick. Like she was swerving lanes, but like pinpoint swerving lanes. Then this is the guy's words. He said she was accurate. Boom, back and forth. And then that's when they see her later at the rest stop puking. That's what the witness says. They interviewed him in the documentary.
She turns her, this is going to be dark again, I'm sorry, but this is where my brain's going with this. She turns her head, sees the kid disemboweled the other kid. He's wearing it like a necklace, and she has to pull over to puke because it's fucking disgusting, and she can't believe it's happening.
Honestly, I mean this sincerely. Like that pretty much tracks. Because like, what's the first thing you're gonna do if you see like you don't know how to answer for that, and then like you're just gonna be like just freaking out.
I'm being this lady right now, okay? Like I've got a perfect life. I'm perfect in every way. I have a husband. I got what I want with my husband. Great job. My kids are perfect. Everything's perfect. Now everything's like that, gone. I'm gonna snap. That person who is that fucking perfect, and I don't know if it's the kids killing each other or something, but something, and it has to be major. And that's why I seriously think either she turned around, for now anyway, maybe there's more to it, but she turned around, did something like shut up back there and like knocked the kid back, put your seatbelt on, and the kid fucking broke its neck or something, or another kid killed another kid or something like that by accident or even by purpose. Who knows if there's a second.
Sure, no, that honestly, because that concept never really occurred to me, so that's why I do dig that right now.
And that's also one of the things too. Like, does anybody say were the kids agitated or they were all right? Or
so at 1 p.m., another call is made from Diane's phone to her brother Warren, and it's from the oldest daughter, Warren's oldest daughter, one of Diane's nieces, and she says there's something wrong with Aunt Diane. She says she can't see and they can't understand what she's saying. So then Schuler got on the phone. Or I'm sorry, Diane got on the phone with her brother and said that she was disoriented and couldn't see clearly. So he says, don't go anywhere, pull over, I'm coming to you. You know, obviously he's gonna be fucking freaking out at this point because Diane's driving his 3 kids, you know?
Yeah.
Now, at that point, police believe that was when the van was at a pull-off area right near the toll booths for at least part of that call. And then for some fucking reason, Diane's phone is found there, like on one of the guardrails, like the concrete barriers at that pull-off area. And that's because as they're going along, Warren's calling her nonstop after that, just trying to get a read on where they are. No fucking answer.
Okay,
because Diane.
Let me clear this up again. So,
Mhm.
Sorry, because this is very specific. I need to get this in my brain.
Mhm.
Now, 11:45. Sorry, she's puking.
Yeah.
And then she drives up the road past the toll booth. At that point,
They're traveling. They're supposed to be going. The best thing to do is to try to visualize this with a map.
okay.
So I can do like a screen share if let's let me get into Google Maps.
Let's start with that freaking jinxed McDonald's.
No, I don't want to make it too confusing for the listening audience either. You know what I mean? But I mean,
No. And I
It does
because
make
if
sense.
we have a visual, it will.
I just want to
You'll be
beat
able
it
to
down a
explain
bit.
it
I
better.
just want to get beats in because, like, when did she drop the phone off? Is what I want to know, really.
Around
Yep.
1. I guess that's what happened.
Yes.
Because the last conversation was about 11:45 when she was seen puking. And I think around 1 is when we found her phone by that concrete barrier by the toll booth.
Yes, that's when Diane's niece calls, and they're pulled off at a toll booth by the Tappan Zee Bridge. Now, and I'll show you on this map if I can screen share in a
Yeah.
second here. I just want to show you because I gotta find Tappan Zee as well.
Something definitely happened.
Hold
Maybe the
on.
phone bill was too much and she snapped and she's like, this is ridiculous. I never surfed anything on xnxx.com.
It is the Mario Cuomo Bridge now. Those fucking Italians. God damn it, they always take everything good. So you see that, how up there you have Parksville and then Liberty. And
Yeah.
then you come down, and then right in here is the Tappan Zee Bridge. I'm sorry, the Governor Mario M. Cuomo Bridge. The Marinara, Meatballs, and Parmesan Bridge. So right through here, like the toll booths that they're talking about are like gonna be over on the one side of the bridge. So they're not talking about them being in New York, I believe. Let me double check that. Oh, beyond. Sorry. So it sounds like they're on the bridge. It says beyond the toll booths. But the gist of it is they just found that fucking phone by those toll booths in that pull-off area.
It's interesting.
Like she was out of the car in the pull-off area when they were talking, and then set the phone there. But then she gets back in the car and she's driving. They cannot fucking figure out where she went or what she did and where she was driving, because there's so much time that's just unaccounted for. Like you see this over here, 2 hour and 33-minute drive. And I mean, like, yeah, you can vary up the route or whatever, but if they left at 9:30, even if they're up here, the point being, it took her way fucking longer than it should have.
Yeah, that's why I was confused. Like, how did this jump to that time? But now I get it. It's not that long. That's just one of the parts. Where the fuck did she go? Okay, that's interesting.
Yes, yeah, they can't understand how it didn't take her, like, because the problem is if she's it's 1 p.m. and she's at that part of the bridge. From that bridge to home, that's not 2 hours and 33 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did the husband meet them at the McDonald's and also eat there with them?
What?
So the husband was in a separate vehicle, right?
Yeah, he was just driving. He was just bringing.
Okay, but he didn't stop at the McDonald's, or he did?
Nope. They didn't travel together really.
Okay, I have my
going.
No.
Okay.
He put the Private Dicks podcast on and just got it. He was home.
Good idea. 1-855 Private Dicks.
So there was no reporting between 11:45 and 1 then. Or there were.
Right.
Between the last time when she was puking and then her phone.
Right.
there any-
Yeah. They don't. I believe it was. I can't remember. I think it was police who found the phone, and that was like way later on. So that was just something I put in there because they just stopped being able to get a hold of her.
It's a shame that it's not nowadays. You would have been able to go, like, it's not a shame that it even happened. But I mean, if it was nowadays, you could just follow the phone everywhere. Like, fuck, 2009, they didn't have GPS like they do now. You can figure out where someone went all day.
Right.
Yeah. There's too much time for something to happen, and it's maybe there was a lover and we knew about it, and he showed up out of nowhere in a bike.
A lover.
Yeah, he's just a motorcycle guy.
Yeah.
Give me 1 minute because there's one other visual aid that's gonna maybe help illustrate this a little bit. It's confusing because and the beautiful part is like the documentary I watched had these maps and everything, so that you could kind of see. And they did this thing, like it was like obviously for like artistic effect, but they just started going off in all these directions that she could have gone in. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's like a spider web of different routes.
Yeah. And if I can pull up this fucking road, it will help you sort of understand.
She definitely has to be agitated by something that is so profound that.
But dude, the thing about it, 11 o'clock, she's puking. You could still be hammered.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, you can
Right.
you can get drunk by 1 o'clock.
This woman is pitch perfect, and then out of nowhere, she's just drinking and smoking, and
Yep.
there are kids involved where you're extra responsible. You know what I mean? Like, there are kids here. I cannot do this, and for her to do it is crazy.
Teenage prank gone wrong. You know, there could be all sorts of drugged.
I wish for every, sorry to interrupt you, but I wish for every case where somebody died, they would publicly post the phone records for like the past couple weeks, where everybody could just, you know, like see who called who and piece together some crazy fucking stories. Because I'm so curious what was going on.
Well, you can get that kind of stuff. You just got to make a freedom of information request, and it's like you can get whatever police pulled into it as long as the case is closed. You can grab. It's $25, I think, every time you call them to do it, but you can get a good case file. Or it depends how much too. Like if there's lots, then it's more. Whatever. Anyways, you could do it.
Either the kid said something or the phone. That's the only two options for me now.
So this is roughly the area Diane was in, like just like inside this like town. This is Taconic State Parkway, but down here, this is where they were supposed to be crossing so that they could get fucking down through here and into Long Island.
But
so
she went
at
the other
some
way.
point, she just starts fucking going the other way because that's the crash happened, was like way out of the way.
Huh.
Oh.
Right. Moving forward.
Diane,
in the right direction, unlike Diane.
Got her.
Killed that bitch. Well, she did.
Ba-da-ba-ba.
Again, they didn't really figure out what route Diane was taking from the bridge to get to Taconic State Parkway in the first place. But at 1:33 p.m., two drivers are calling 911 after noticing a van edging onto the Parkway's northbound exit ramp. Now, the end of the exit ramp at the intersection with a road called Pleasantville is marked with two signs that read, "Do not enter," and another two signs that read, "One way." Within the next minute, 4 more 911 calls are placed by other drivers who reported that a car was traveling in the wrong direction on the Parkway, going like 75 or 85 miles per hour. In kilometers, for you, Richard, that's 121 or 137 kilometers an hour.
Oh my God! Yeah, that's a big ticket, Richard. Big ticket
you
if
lose
you
your
get
car
caught.
for that one. You lose your car for that one. Impounded.
4 demerit points and like $300 or something.
So the van traveled for 1.7 miles, 2.7 kilometers, in the Parkway's northbound passing lane, where at 1:35 p.m. it collided head-on with the Chevy Trailblazer, which had the two father-son with their old buddy in it.
Yeah.
Another car was struck, but there were like minor to no injuries. They think at the time of impact, she was traveling at 85 miles per hour in the wrong fucking lane.
Well, yeah, but that doubles when the other person's going the same fucking speed the opposite way too, right?
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. And there's no way. Yeah. I think those fucking 3 guys were like fishing or some shit. So there's no way they weren't like also drunk. Like, where's the Bastardi's autopsy? Where's their vitreous fluid?
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Why is it automatically the mom of 5 kids or whatever?
Yeah. Well, just because she drove in the wrong lane
and had a vodka bottle in her car and a lot of marijuana. How dare they assume?
Jumping ahead of me, bitch.
Wait, didn't you say that already? Oh, maybe I read it. My bad. I thought you said that already.
Yeah. You spoiler. Getting on Wikipedia. The
Richard, cut that. I didn't go on Wikipedia. I was looking.
No, that's okay.
I was looking for the path they drove, and there was captions, and I wrote down and I read one.
It's okay because that's literally the next thing I was going to say. 2 men who witnessed the accident immediately ran to help. The car was not even on the road anymore. I mean, this thing, if you look at pictures of the scene of the accident, it's fucking totaled. It was on fire and there's smoke billowing out of it. So these 2 guys go to help. They pulled Diane from the van and they have, their statement says they saw a large, broken, absolute vodka bottle on the floor of the driver's side. They this part's darker, but they pulled the kids out, and they immediately knew they were dead, but they didn't notice Brian. Apparently he was underneath another body, and they didn't see him, which is strange that's in there like that, because the documentary makes it pretty clear he was thrown from the vehicle. So I don't really know how that happens, unless they were like tied together or something.
Oof. Thrown into the other vehicle with the old guys, and they were laying on him.
Right. They just wanted another person to do another age gap for friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we got to go younger this time. We can't go older.
It was great while it lasted.
Yeah.
So crazy.
That's pretty much the entirety of the incident. There's like some other gross stuff where like you can find pictures of the scene.
Ugh, no thanks.
Yeah,
it's kids. It's like, I'm joking around, but it's kids, man.
No, I know. They didn't show kids in the documentary, but they did show Diane, and she's fucked up. She's like visibly a goner. Not a lot of blood though, which almost makes it worse. It's just like physical trauma that you can see. Not really any gore or anything. Yeah. But they don't show the kids, and I'm not interested in looking it up.
Did they release the 911 calls?
Yeah, there's some of them in the documentary. It's just like bits and clips. They're just like, yeah, somebody's going on the wrong lane on Taconic State Parkway out by Mount Pleasant.
Let me see if I can find one.
I'm driving it.
Yeah, literally, they're just the most fucking like nasal New York motherfuckers.
I will say, it seems a little fucking weird that out of all the kids, the son's the only one that like wasn't involved. And the dad wasn't there?
Well, the son was there. He just survived.
Oh, he survived it?
Yeah, he was in there. He got pretty fucked up from it too. He has some kind of like permanent ocular palsy or something.
Wow.
He seems like he's doing okay now, more or less, but I mean, maybe not emotionally, which we'll get into. But Thomas Ruskin was the PI I mentioned earlier. Not too long after Danny went out and made that statement with his lawyer, Dominic Barbera, his lawyer knew a guy who helped him out with other cases, this Thomas Ruskin guy. They paid $30,000 fucking dollars to hire this PI. And their goal was with clearing Diane of what they felt were incorrect toxicology reports. Now, Danny, in his dumb Long Island way, just keeps saying, it's like a broken record. He says it had to be something medical. It was something medical was going on. Something medical was going on. But what we'll find out, I mean, is that the autopsy reports showed 0.19 blood alcohol level, high levels of THC. So what's Thomas Ruskin to do but try to get that autopsy report independently reviewed? That's his goal. It's like, I'm going to take these test results and we're going to see if they fucked up the test somehow. And what happens is different. All of a sudden, there's just a new headline every day that Danny and his lawyer are just surprised by. It seems like Thomas can't stop talking to the fucking press and revealing things about the case. And it just keeps making these new waves, like little things like.
And he's hired by Danny, right?
He's hired by Danny. They paid that man $30K.
Yeah. That is it. That did they start out with like 1,000, and then every time he found something, he was like, "Well, now it's going to be another 4." Is that over time?
That's the interesting thing. So another big figurehead, and honestly, probably the best person in all of this is Diane Schuler, who is Danny and Diane's sister-in-law. It's Danny's brother's wife. She is also adamant that there's no fucking way Diane would do this. But she's a lot more level-headed about it because I think her IQ is probably a good 40 points above Danny's. And I think her IQ might be 90. So she's very rational, but obviously, how do you be rational when something this emotional happens? And that's the strangest thing. Like, anybody else would be ashamed by something like this, but like the way that Danny and the rest of the family have kind of come forward and just been adamant about it, it kind of goes beyond that denial when you're being that active about it. And that's what's very interesting to me. But back on the subject of ass face Thomas Ruskin, he takes his money from them and they get nothing out of him. The only thing they hear from him is what they're literally reading in the paper because of the things that he's saying to the news, which isn't anything that's surprising to you or me because it's just parts of the investigation that we've kind of already gone over.
Yeah.
But it does serve to exonerate Diane. It's things that, we've already talked about like, like her relations at work and really just kind of like him doubling down on being like, there's something that to get to the bottom of here. Well, time goes on, really about a year with Thomas Ruskin, and they just stop hearing from him. And he wants more and more money to continue his investigation. And eventually they say, we don't have the money. So he just stops, full stop, doesn't speak with them. Now, when they do get in contact with him again, almost a full year later, he's adamant that he sent the results that he got to the lawyer's office. And they have it on video in the documentary where the lawyer calls in his assistant and he's like, what did we get from Thomas Ruskin? And she's like, nothing. We didn't get anything. He never sent anything. And
that's a documentarian, like, okay, ask her.
Yeah.
Ask her.
Yep.
Give me a second while I set up this camera. Ask her, though.
Yep. Yeah. It was very like on the spot. And it did make me wonder, like how dedicated this lawyer was to them as well. But he does seem pretty genuine. So I don't really disbelieve him at all. But this Thomas Ruskin guy is a fucking scam artist, dude. Like,
yeah,
mind you, his website, you can go on his website and look him up, and he says, retired New York City detective, years in criminal investigation, I'm the private investigator hire. He's not fucking retired. He had to resign in disgrace in 1999 after selling fraudulent airline tickets, for which he did, mind you, he's a convicted felon for this and did 5 years probation.
Well,
and if you look him up, there's a different video of him like all over the internet from every single different news source. Today, Fox News, CNN. He's a fucking professional pundit.
Okay. Well, let's not burn up too much. Like we all have parole. We're private detectives. It's
well, okay, but the difference is you and I aren't sitting on Fox News weighing in on police brutality.
I would. I'd be the perfect person.
You're like, well, don't prevent my ability to get there.
Yeah, exactly. I would love to be a Fox News pundit.
Oh man.
No, that is scummy. That guy sounds like a scumbag for sure.
Yeah, it's just a fun little aside for me. I really did not like that guy, and I was right too. There's actually a phone call between him and Jay Schuler, Diane and Danny's sister-in-law, where she calls and she's like, why didn't we hear anything? And he's like, you tell me, we had a deal and then, you guys, blah, blah. It was clearly just all about money to him until he finally caves and says like, well, the test results that I got, well, they just confirmed what was already there. I'm sorry, Jay. I don't really have anything else for you.
Of course.
So, there's some fuckery there, I feel, but he has not physically released them to them still to this day because they never paid him for them.
Yeah.
According to him.
But I mean, if it was that like shocking or whatever, he just would have went to the news himself and made money that way.
I agree. And he's also like, toyed with the idea that he would do that supposedly, which, and he hasn't. So you're right. Maybe there's nothing there. Maybe he didn't even fucking actually do the test.
I was going with that one. I was going with the first one. He was probably waiting to get paid. Liquor and hookers cost a lot. And 30 grand ain't gonna cover all. This guy just sounds like an alcoholic who sits in a basement apartment.
You know how much it costs when you violate probation? Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
And this was huge at the time. Danny went on Oprah and Larry King during the following year. Now, Oprah obviously is Oprah. There really wasn't anything of substance there. But Larry King pressed him. Larry King just straight up confronted him about the vodka bottle. And he's like, so, I mean, you have to admit, like, you gotta... There's a vodka bottle in the car. You say she never drank, but why was that there? Well, this is when Danny all of a sudden admits, well, we would bring a bottle of vodka up to camp and we would have a few drinks, but one bottle of vodka would last us a whole summer up there. And then Larry's like, okay, that's fine. How did it get into the front seat of the car? And Danny says, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
I mean, they're in a car accident.
I agree. So that's the other thing. Could it potentially have been in the back of the van? Well, Danny also says he doesn't know why it wasn't in the camper. They leave it in the camper. That's the thing. They go camping for a season. The vodka's in the camper.
I will say, though, potentially dead kid is an option. You know, you pull that shit out and you fucking sprinkle it on a wound.
That too. Or in your mouth because you watched a child die.
Were there any? That's what I want to know. Did the kids have any alcohol in their system? Just passing that shit around in there, you know?
I don't know if they tested the kids. But now maybe they should have.
I'm just saying, we talked about how shitty cops are before.
No, but it's not. It's okay. Put it this way: it's probably in the realm of possibilities, not super possible that those kids did find that alcohol and killed themselves with alcohol. Like, you know what I mean? And then it's out because they're fishing through and like, oh, I want to get drunk like mommy and daddy did last night. They were so silly. Glug glug glug. Like, that's a possibility too.
I'm gonna be honest, like that probably is one of the more interesting theories because a lot of these don't really hold weight, as you'll see. But just to add on, Danny also did later admit that Diane occasionally, she smoked weed. Sometimes. So it's like, it's this weird thing where you're like, oh man, that is really weird. Oh, what the fuck, dude? So she was just drunk and high. You know what I mean? Like, it has this weird ebb and flow to it. At least it did for me.
Put it this way, like, I've been drunk, I've been high, I've been drunk and high. I've been really drunk and really high. I would never, ever get in a car and drive, especially with my kids.
That's the other thing.
You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not even Mr. fucking like soccer dad and all. I'm not that guy. I'm not what she was. So if that's the case where she just got hammered and high and drove, she would have snapped because of something else. It wouldn't have been the booze that would have made her do that. So like a lot of the time with these with all mysteries, I find is if you can figure out why something happened, you could just like, you know what I mean? That's whether she was drunk or not, that comes with the why, I think, you know, like, why would you do that?
I think it's something that she got it in the news, I think from the phone, or kids said something, by the way, mom, I saw dad with another woman or something. I don't know. There should be something like that.
I agree that's plausible with the exception of the fact there's no fucking way Danny Schuler was pulling in any puss. I have seen this man and heard him talk, and it is like watching a fucking glacier move. He is so dull and so annoying. Like it'd be like if a glacier had a Long Island accent and it was just like
You guys can have alcohol at the gas station, eh? Over there.
What's that?
You can buy alcohol on the gas station.
Beer, and in some counties, I know you can get liquor in like grocery stores, but it depends.
Maybe she stopped and got it from there.
Probably not in New York. She didn't get a bottle of vodka in the Sunoco.
No, eh?
No, yeah. And Danny, like I said, Danny copped to it being their bottle of vodka that they would sit by the campfire and have a couple of drinks or whatever the fuck, which sounds reasonable. I mean, like
that sounds normal. Like I said, for someone who doesn't drink, there's lots of people that say I don't drink, but then they'll have a drink once in a blue moon. You know, like
right, and that's where I mean. So one final note, just sort of like in this timeline, and then we'll dive headfirst into the theories and stuff, is that while the documentary was being filmed in 2010, Danny and Jay did get a chance to have those test results independently reviewed by a doctor in New York City, and it's honestly like a really sad sit down with this guy, because what it is they're not redoing the autopsy, they're just independently reviewing the autopsy results. And sort of because they're questioning whether this lady who did it was competent or not. Yeah. And the doctor said, you know, they're valid. You know, I can't find anything in here that would have broken protocol or done anything. Everything was done perfectly, more or less.
He took the eye fluid out perfectly.
Yeah.
Looks like he did a great job sucking the eye juice out.
Yeah. And he said, you know, it's like, I can't find anything here. And like, they're almost like pleading with him to like, you know, but in ways that like don't really track, as if like they retested her body when they also know he didn't. That's why it's kind of sad, is because like they're so upset that it didn't turn anything up for them, because it was like their Hail Mary of finally getting those results reviewed, and when that didn't work, they're like, we're gonna exhume the body, and that's been their goal. To this day, they haven't actually exhumed Diane's body, but that was kind of like where they wanted to head next. They just wouldn't give in. Yeah. And that's why, like, it really says something to me, like, because like it goes beyond denial. Like, I know grief can get you all wrapped up in that shit, like but the number of people who are like, it's got to be bullshit. You know what I mean?
Some people have lots of friends, man. If Johnny Depp would drive on the opposite side of the road today and kill a bunch of people, there'd be that many defenders. You know what I mean? Like, there'd be a million defenders.
Which is wild to me, because I firmly believe Johnny Depp is just also a piece of shit.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
for sure.
I hate that.
I'm just using Johnny Depp as an example. I could say
yeah, I know.
Brad Pitt, for fuck's sake. Somebody that's beloved,
right.
You know, like Tom Hanks. No one, everyone would be like, Tom Hanks was definitely undergun. And there'd be
right.
lots of people. It wouldn't be
right.
one person. It would be lots of people. So some people just have lots of friends. I don't know. Anyways, I'll listen to the theories, but I have my theory too.
No, for sure. Just for like another little note, just because I know I've been like fairly like, you know, anti Diane doing anything malicious or intentionally wrong. The opposite perspective, the surviving relatives of the Bastardis, they fucking despise Danny, like hate his guts.
They should.
Yeah, because they didn't say a kind word about him in the documentary. Like, they didn't have like any empathy for him, because, you know, I mean, here he is making constant media waves about how his wife did nothing wrong, and they have a dead father and brother. You know, these women. So they're furious, and they said something to the effect, I didn't write it down, but it was like, you know, it'd be one thing if you just, you know, like, were like, oh, she made a mistake, and then moved on, instead of just bringing it up again and up again and up again and dragging it out, which, you know, like, I can't help but feel for them, because, you know, I mean, to have it in your face every day.
Yeah, they don't have as many friends. Plus, they're probably not rich. They're probably not as rich as this guy. This guy sounds like
well, they had a lot of friends, Richard, but being Bastardis, all of their friends were 30 years older than them, so they were just dead at that point.
already at the. You did them a favor and sent them to the cemetery with the rest of their friends. Anyways,
there was always at the bingo hall, you know.
Yeah. But I mean, the Danny is they must have some money. Like, he's getting a lawyer and all this stuff. Those guys aren't rich, so they're getting stomped all over. Like, they don't have friends in the media. They don't have all that.
Yeah. So I know the figure for the documentary that got tossed around. I couldn't find anything concrete about it, but it was something like $100,000 to do the documentary. But that was under the impression that they were going to be able to film him in the midst of exhuming the body. I don't know if that changed, because that didn't happen.
That's rough.
Yeah. But there was also then lawsuits, and I know I'm not to the theories yet, but I'm getting there. There's lawsuits, just because it's important to point that out. Diane's brother and his wife sued Danny, and then the Bastardis sued Danny, and they wanted somebody to become an executor of Diane's estate, but Danny refused and told them to let a court handle it. I think the Bastardis also sued Diane's brother, and Danny sued Diane's brother. But the weird thing with that is that if there's a car involved and there's an owner, in New York, you legally have to sue the owner of the car to claim on their insurance. So that doesn't necessarily mean there was like some bad blood there by suing. Because, I mean, you're suing the father of 3 dead girls. Like, that's kind of fucked up. But people don't really realize that you have to do that.
Yeah, well, it's really a grieving widower with dead kids suing a father with dead kids. Like, it's a lot of tragedy going on with that one. That court case was not going to be a smiler.
Right, and I should also, and it's only because this just occurred to me, I forgot it, but in the documentary, I really dislike Danny. This guy sucks, and he talks about how he never even wanted kids. And that was Diane's thing, and he feels like, I think that he like gave that to her, and now he says, he's like, and now, you know, I'm doing it alone.
I just wanted to live this lavish lifestyle of a nighttime security guard. Oh, I got wrapped up with these children.
Yeah, while my wife makes 6 figures and does all my laundry at the same time.
Yeah, like, come on,
Danny
man.
sucks.
Come on, dude.
After all, I'm Diane's like the oldest child, so I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
I've already done my chores.
Yeah. So one tiny little factoid before we jump into these theories. The autopsy did point out that Diane did not have an enlarged liver or any of the other physical signs of alcoholism.
Not a
Just
shock.
it doesn't necessarily mean anything. First theory, Danny's big thing that he was railing against is that Diane was complaining about an abscessed tooth. He thinks somehow an abscessed tooth.
Wait, what?
I know. Well, that theory that wasn't really a theory then morphed into maybe Diane had been drinking a little bit to ease the pain of the abscessed tooth. And that maybe the reason that she was at that Sunoco was because she wanted Advil and they didn't have any, so she decided,
I'm just gonna chug a fuck ton of vodka. Yeah.
Well, so there's also this kind of side theory to this theory that you get into a loop when you've been drinking a little bit, especially if you're doing it with the goal of trying to get pain relief, where the more you drink, the more it makes you feel more comfortable drinking more. And she could have very well chugged a shitload of vodka in that 45 minutes before she was puking on the side of the road.
Okay, wait, whose theory is this?
This is more Danny being like, what about an abscessed tooth?
Okay,
and then a bunch of experts going, all right, I think here's what he means.
Let's interpret this for 5 hours on Fox News. Let's go.
Yeah.
Come on, talking heads, gather. Yeah, okay, that's
a weird one and plausible, but they didn't find anything on an abscessed tooth, but not because they didn't find anything, because they weren't fucking looking for it. So that emboldened Danny to be like, oh, this is probably something.
I could see that happening, honestly. Having toothaches, have you ever had a bad one? Fuck, they suck. I can see getting right nice and drunk, getting rid of that, numbing the pain at least. There's fucking 5 kids in the back. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
She's
too responsible for that, yeah.
Not happening. She's just going to deal with the pain. She might have, and like, sure, okay, let's pretend she had a swig and then went and got painkillers. What kind of painkillers can you get at a fucking gas station? Like morphine? What are they giving you? Quaaludes?
No, it would just be like Advil or ibuprofen.
What is Bill Cosby country? What's going on here?
So another theory, an ischemic stroke. She could have fucking stroked. They think that, some other complaints she had made about potentially having headaches or doctor's appointments she had. I mean, they rifled through her black book and everything, trying to find appointments and all that shit. And she had a couple, but, there's been doctor's appointments. But the coroner didn't find a stroke because that's not what they were looking at. There's the reports, the independent reviewers and other experts have weighed in, and they said you can't rule it out because they didn't turn up evidence for it, because they didn't turn up evidence for it. It was an absence of evidence.
Yeah, if you can make up any evidence because they didn't look for it, though.
Exactly. So that's kind of the counterpoint to that one that feels.
Or a stroke to me indicates loss of control, right? But you told us that she was like weaving between traffic and she had control of her faculties to a point. A stroke would have been like, bleh, or like there would have been barfing. That probably could have happened, or like a numbness. Maybe she still had some faculties, but to this extent, sounds like if it was a stroke, she would have hit the veered off into nowhere, and it would have been a while ago. Why the missing time? It would have been instant,
Right, exactly. And that's why, like, some of these are, I mean, flimsy is generous, I think, because but what I think the kind of common theme that keeps popping up is like, you can't say it didn't happen, certainly. You know what I mean? And that's what's kind of shitty about it. And that's like sort of the crux of this whole thing, because there's such a gap of time because of who she was as a person prior to this. Very, very fucky trying to nail down any one thing that it was. This next one, actually, I stuck this one in here, and just about Thomas Ruskin, which we kind of already went over earlier and preloaded this one, but he's a fame whore and he's just waiting for his opportunity to be able to drop something. Which I don't believe, but I also hate him, and I'm happy to spread that rumor about him.
Oh, it's not a rumor. He's definitely a fame whore. He just has nothing. He's holding all of his cards like he's bluffing, and no one's taking, no one's going all in on the whole thing. Like, okay, fine.
Yeah, he's just got two jokers in the rules for Pinochle.
Yeah. And everyone's like, we're playing fucking chess over here. Relax.
Yeah. Rick, you'll like this one just because it's kind of conspiracy-y and technical. Auto brewery syndrome. Auto brewery syndrome is a disorder where eating starchy foods or carbs can create a fermentation process in your digestive tract that produces ethanol and makes you drunk without drinking.
Freaking McDonald's.
Are you telling me that this motherfucker got drunk on McDonald's breakfast?
Goddamn fillet of fish, man.
Oh, I am waking up early tomorrow. Let's get it.
Sumit may have had this one.
That is interesting. I've never even heard of that before.
I hadn't heard of it either until I started looking into this, and it never came up in the documentary.
See, but that doesn't surprise me that that's possible, because how else do humans figure out how to ferment shit?
The interesting thing is that it primarily is only a disorder seen rarely in Japanese men living in Japan. And if it did happen to Diane and it did make her that drunk, it would be the most unprecedented case of autobrewery syndrome in history. The expert that analyzed the facts and looked this over said, again, there's no real way of knowing for sure that's not what happened, but it's just, it's the Occam's razor thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's it. That's the one.
Like, I don't even want to think of the disgusting mead that would come from me.
Just fucking a delicious heady brew of Timbit soup.
Like, how many burgers you have to eat to have that fermentation done so bad that you're going on the wrong side for what, 1.2 miles or 2.4?
1.7, almost 2 miles.
Yeah.
You're right. We have to find out. I agree.
Let's go to McDonald's.
I wonder if there's a way you can trigger this. Can you trigger this? Can you make it happen to you? Is there a pill we could take?
Sounds like a lot of fucking bread, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get that fucking bread.
Let's get 5 kids from somewhere.
Yeah, 5
Get a
kids.
van. Get a van and let's do this.
It's the only way. We've got to be a control group.
We have to live what happened as a true investigators. We got to live through those moments.
Yes, I agree.
Oh fuck! My final theory and the one that I think is most likely, and a really, again, this is not super mysterious, but is undeniably fucking bizarre. And I think it's just Danny is hands down the shittiest husband in the history of the world. Like, there's never been a worse husband. I don't think anybody, I think he's in such deep denial that he was awful, and Diane was like god tier at emotional masking. Like, she was just a superhero at like keeping that shit in. So like, for whatever reason,
Well, she wasn't.
well, until she wasn't.
Until she was.
She was incredible until she wasn't. You know, maybe it's like you guys said, maybe something happened in there that fucking broke. And I mean, the facts are there. She must have been drinking that booze. But is it like a recent alcoholism that happened over the past few months, or was it like right there in the van then? You know what I mean? Because I don't think, with how much she cared about those kids and how you know, on the level she was, she would have done something knowing that they could have been hurt like that, you know?
I think they got into a big fight. I think they got into a big fight before they left, because it doesn't make sense that they drive separate. I understand they drove separate because too many fucking kids and not enough room, whatever. But why not go with them to the McDonald's and then like drive behind them and drive, like, you're coming back from the camping place to your home? Shit doesn't make sense.
If it's your wife, you're gonna make sure she's okay. Danny got home and she just wasn't there, and he was like, huh?
Where's dinner?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean, man.
Mom, he's just saying, Mom,
Yeah.
supper's not on yet, Mom. Yeah, there could be a portion of that, or it could just be like, I'll get home first.
The rest of my theory is just that she, you know, because she took care of everything, because she was so worried about being perfect, because she'd been that way since she was 9 fucking years old, she was just under this insane amount of pressure and just kept it in. You know, like, she was not one to complain about anything. Like, even the times I said she complained about feeling pain or something, that was like rare for her. Whether it was an abscess tooth or whatever it was, she just like fucking masked it, dude. And I mean, it's like, you know, maybe it's crazy to think that she just all of a sudden succumbed to alcohol, but it's like not any crazier than any other part of this. And I think that kind of pressure can push down on you so hard that maybe you will do irrational things, and it'll change you. It might change you so severely that the people closest to you don't recognize you, because the transformation that you go through is that severe. And that's why I think Diane was a were-dingo. I think Diane transformed from that pressure into everyone knows high amounts of social and family pressure, a midday sun, a bunch of absolute vodka. That's in all the myths, dude. That's how you turn into a were-dingo.
That's an Australian dingo sandwich for sure.
Yeah,
all three
exactly.
Of those things.
She murdered everyone in the car, okay? And then, as we all know, were-dingoes who are consumed purely with pettiness and spite, swerved it into the other lane meticulously to then take out as many other people as she could.
Or maybe while driving home, she joined Scientology.
That too. Were-dingoes are partial to irrational religions because, again, the pettiness and spite.
Were-dingo's on the table. I would definitely.
Yeah. Me too.
I like what you're saying with the pressure and everything else, but I don't know about. I don't know this Danny guy. I haven't watched anything with him, but I do know that sometimes and in some ways people just click, and they could have just been perfect for each other. Whether she made $1 million and she liked to make the food for him, she liked to do all that stuff. It could have just been a relationship like that, and there could have been a fight from Rick's side of things, and they drove home, and maybe she just had a few drinks because of that too.
I think
sure.
it's possible.
But I think to get to the real, like the meat of this, as soon as she saw that child wrapped around with the innards around them, she transformed into the were-dingo and had to eat and stop paying attention to the road, and everyone had
bloodlust.
No, I do think there was some sort of tragedy in the backseat. That's what I think. I think that's what snapped her. I don't know if it was murderous child or whatever.
I genuinely like that because that's not something that ever came up before. Because even if it was something as simple as like, one of the other kids like died in a way where the other kids didn't realize it, and she was kind of just like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, the 2-year-old, like the little
exactly.
one. I think some sort of tragedy in the backseat. That's what I really think.
I think it would have to be one of the nieces because of the sheer anxiety that would cause. Because if it was her daughter, I feel like she would have stopped and done something about it.
Yeah.
But like if it's her brother's kid, her brother who she helped raise and who, you know what I mean? Like,
no, for sure.
No, absolutely.
How are you going to explain that to him? To you, your husband, you've got him on lock. You can go home, explain everything. No, everyone's going to be traumatized. You went to the hospital, all that stuff. But even if you go to the hospital with your brother's kid, something bad happened to them, you'd still have to a lot of explaining. You'd ruin that your whole life would be fucked after that. Even if it was an accident.
I think if it was that, it would be something like that. And I think that's totally plausible. Way more than like your fucking tooth hurt. You know what I mean?
Nobody wants to admit that a kid could do something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe it was just them playing. Nobody wants to say that as a possibility because they're just kids. But like, I can't imagine a way for me to snap except for like something like that would be a way for me to like, I don't know what to do right now. I know I'd have to go to the hospital. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, who knows what mind frame you're at and especially I'm not perfect by any means. I don't have that pressure on me. So,
right.
But I could see it. I could feel it. I can understand that. And to a way, not in a psychopathic way. I would never do it, but I mean, I can understand.
Right.
It. But also, you didn't really explore, and I thought this was going to be explored a little bit, was like a poisoning, that somebody poisoned her. Is that?
Oh, yeah. They didn't find any clarinets in the car.
Okay. Well, then that's off the fucking table then. They must have done toxicology. It was just weed and booze. There was no
weed
like.
And booze. Yeah. Just high levels of THC, 0.19 blood alcohol content.
That sounds like a good time.
I think she had a couple too many McChickens, and it was that beer thing inside of her.
I knew you'd like that.
Yeah, that's my vote.
Yeah, me too.
The beer one's cool too, though. That's interesting, just overall. Like,
auto brewery syndrome.
I mean, it checks out because in 2009 was when Ronald McDonald introduced the McShotgun, so it makes sense.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you did say McShotgun?
Yeah, like shotgunning a beer. Not like the
Well, that's what I thought. I'm like, wrong kind of suicide, bro.
Well, I just thought like that was I mean, it feels very American for McDonald's to sell shotguns, so
if McDonald's actually sold shotguns.
The site's just Ronald McDonald, like
he's pointing up at it like it's the reticle.
Or it's just a thing of fries. Well, that's a good mystery. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not. It's very similar. It smacks of the Chris Dorner one, where it's not really a mystery. It's sort of just like a weird fucking thing.
No, but that's a mystery. That's a fucking good mystery because we didn't even explore. There's one more theory we didn't even explore. He came in here with a theory, Sumit.
Oh yeah,
his cousin. What was it? Deep Cock, or I forget what his name was.
He's still in India. He is Gagan Deep.
Gagan Deep. That's right. Your cousin Gagan Deep was driving down, scared her off the road.
Yeah, I wish I could say that one day he was gagging deep and then he just thought about it, but no. It was other cousin Suck Deep who kind of came up with all this, and then here we are doing all this.
I gotcha.
Okay.
Well, what are we going with, boys? What are we gonna settle with?
It has to be either one of the kids giving some kind of trauma, or the phone call came in and there was some kind of trauma that completely made her lost her mojo, something like that.
No, you know what? I actually think she just drank the night before and drank so fucking much that she was still drunk when they got up the next morning. Because what do you crave when you're fucking hungover? And there's actually scientific evidence to prove it. McDonald's. And I don't think she meant to drink and drive. I think she was just still fucking drunk as shit.
That is extremely plausible because back when I was drinking a shitload, there's one morning in particular that I got fucking shattered at an open mic. And my friend was too drunk to drive home, and I was like, no, you ride with me, and then Misty drove us home. Now the next morning, I promised to pick him up for work. We worked together, and I got up and I fucking zoomed to his house on the other side of the city I live in, probably like 20 minutes away, just to get over there. Pick him up. He gets in the car, and I'm like, "How you feeling, man?" And he's like, "Actually, pretty good." And I was like, "You know what? I'm feeling pretty fucking good too." And that was when I realized at 8 o'clock in the morning, I was still very drunk from the night before doing 70 miles an hour on the highway.
With pure precision, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Weaving in and out.
Stopped at McDonald's, went to work. It was a perfect day. I saw a fiery explosion behind me, but I don't know what the fuck that was.
Peed in the middle twice.
Bunch of assholes were driving on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah, I mean, like all my nieces died, but it was cool.
And I feel like she didn't even know that she was on the wrong side. She was just driving like cool. It was like, all right, everything is all right. She didn't even know, I believe.
Yeah, no, it just hit her all of a sudden.
I see what you did there, Rick.
That was good. She thought people were just going so slow they were going backwards at her.
Yes, that's how high she was. Well, this weed's really good, bro. Everyone's going backwards.
This van got some engine.
I think it's been long enough that Absolute Vodka could probably use that as a sales pitch. We get you so drunk, you'll still feel it the next morning. So Absolute, if you want to sponsor us, I mean, here's your fucking ad spot right
You'll
there.
have absolutely no idea which way you're going.
You'll get absolutely fucked by opposing traffic.
And then this is where we cut into an ad for BetterHelp.ca. All right.
Oh yeah.
Absolute vodka. Please don't drive with kids.
Okay, so I have, there's part of that in me too, Rick, but it's like all day. You know, like that's the only thing I don't like. She wasn't still drunk. There's no way. It was like 2-3 in the afternoon when she got in an accident.
What I don't know much about this. I don't know if, we as humans know much about it. I wonder, like, if your liver gets better or worse at processing alcohol, like if you never drink versus if you sometimes drink versus like if your liver's used to it, you'd probably be better. It would be my guess. So do you think maybe she just didn't process it fast enough? And like, that's why it lasted?
I didn't include it as a theory because a lot of this stuff seems very hearsay because it's just people being like, I don't know, maybe, but they do think that potentially she may have been in the early stages of alcoholism under which the circumstances would have no physical evidence of long-term alcoholism, which would be a fucked up liver and like other signs and stuff. I
mean, she's got a bunch of young kids, a shitty husband, a corporate job, and they go camping and he doesn't even drive with her. Yeah, I mean, I would drink too. It wouldn't even take that much for me.
Yeah, it may have been brewing for a while and not automatically in her stomach.
I'm still going with murderous child in the back. Where Dingo came loose, everyone died.
And Richard, I like that because it was new perspective to me, but mostly because, as you mentioned, Where Dingoes.
Yeah. So I don't know if Rick wants to get on board with a were-dingo?
I'll get on board with a were-dingo, a hunt over were-dingo, yeah.
I can't think of a time that we haven't all gotten on board with were-dingo when it's been a possibility, so I think we're obliged to go.
I mean, it's really flip a coin. It's either Amelia Earhart or a were-dingo. And I mean, did she get airborne?
Did she get airborne?
No. Well,
then were-dingo it is.
Well, I mean, you saw how far that car was from the road, so.
Plus the kid. The kid was DB Cooper.
That too. Yeah, he was supposedly ejected, so.
Yeesh.
Nobody asked the kid, hey, what happened? The kid was never investigated?
That's actually a good question.
They tried, and his constant thing is, Mommy said her head hurt and she couldn't see. That's it. That's all I know, kind of thing. And
that's alcohol poisoning. She definitely drank the night before and just
never changed.
Had alcohol poisoning and couldn't see that well and was trying to rush home.
Or she was mid-transformation and your eyes don't work while your flesh is ripping off your skin.
Well, they're morphing to further apart to be more on the side of your head for better prey visibility.
Yo, but you know how trippy that must have been? Mommy's saying she can't see. I would have thought I was fucking dreaming. You ever been in a dream? You just can't fucking see for like the whole thing. And you're just like, you're spending the time. Like when I used to have contacts, I used to spend my entire dreams trying to find my contacts until I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh, goddamn.
You weren't sleeping. You just couldn't find your contacts.
What do you think, Sumit? If $200 well spent, you're gonna need to spend $200 for the answer. Like we'll bill you, but I mean,
Richard,
yeah.
Slip him the invoice for his cousin. Staple it to the back of it.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the.
Yeah. Let's do this.
Okay. So yeah, that's you don't have to pay for 30 days, and the were-dingo defense, hungover were-dingo with bloodlust is the only possible solution probably to that. So. You're welcome.
I have to agree with you, boys. This is the best investigation I've been part of. But yeah, 100% worth it. All the money.
Thank you.
Wow. Never mind. That was easy.
That was very
easy.
Right
here first. Send us a check for $200.
It will be done.
Perfect.
It will be.
Don't can you sign the bottom of this here? You're not allowed to ask about your cousin if you ever come here again. Okay, sign away.
Okay.
I just watched Private Dicks, and I think RJ's the funniest.
What? Come on!
Hey there, all you private dickheads. That's probably not the name we're gonna stick with. Anyways, RJ here. I am here to tell you thank you for listening to another episode of Private Dicks. If you liked what you heard, go on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere they take your reviews, drop us 5 stars, say something nice. Also, what you just heard was from last season. If you want current episodes as they're dropped, head on over to patreon.com and search up Unethical Podcast. That's our mother podcast. I was not aware Private Dicks was a spinoff. I'm going to renegotiate my contract. On Patreon is a full 16-episode season more of Private Dicks, uncut videos of each episode, and many more things are getting added all the time. You can also find all of Unethical's content on there, so go listen to that. And if you're already a patron, fuck yeah, dude. You're the best.